Welcome. Today is a special show. We are speaking about 20 years of Colombo Fashion Week. Colombo Fashion Week has seen everything out there that Sri Lanka faced. It could be trauma, bomb blast, you name it. They've gone through it all. But this brand has just got stronger, and this year they celebrate a milestone and it hits 20 long years. All right, to start things off, I'm going to say hello to Ajai, the man who has been instrumental in somehow keeping this afloat. Ajai, I'm going to first ask you to introduce our guests who have come down. This is not their first time. Rakesh and
Rakesh and David.
Yes, and you all have been here before. And the only question I asked was, do you all see a change in Sri Lanka when you all were coming from the airport to the hotel?
I'm not sure whether the change is due to what we've been reading about or whether it's an actually perceived, an actual perception. But it's still such a beautiful country. We're still so happy to be back. So that's really what we see.
That's amazing. Now, the two of them and me, we all thought about when they came last. We have lost track. So Ajay is the man for that. Ajay, let's go back in time. 20 years ago, you woke up one day and decided to put a show together and call it Colombo Fashion Week. It was day. Did you ever think that this great / mad idea will pull through up to 20 years?
Well, it was just a try. It wasn't even, it was called Colombo Fashion Weekend in 2003. Okay. And I just didn't wake up one day and did it. I thought.
But that idea dawned upon you.
Yeah, it was like, okay, shall we do it? Will it work? Won't work? It started like that. And then my friend Prasad at that time, he said, okay, you think there's a chance of a fashion week in this country, or we could do something with the fashion industry. That's how it started. So we thought, let's give it a shot. And we went around, we couldn't find, I think we just found one designer, that was Yolan Aluhara. Yeah. And then there were two other designers, who were not really designers, but closer to a designer. That's how we started, And yeah, didn't imagine it to be that far. I thought it won't last another 2 years from that time.
But 2003 to now, you have seen so many people walk in, walk out of this brand. They've created their own brands. They've championed bigger things in life. But in 2003, when you started, was it hard to convince the brands to support you and to be next to you to do this?
Yeah, there was hardly any brands at that time to support even. I think Vijaya newspapers were probably one at that time. Yeah, that's about it. And there was one, I think, another radio station that came on board, and an apparel company. Right. That was it. And it was a golf face hotel. Right. Yeah, that was it. So we just tried with that. And I think we didn't even get paid. Some of the sponsors didn't even pay the balance money at that time. So that's how we started.
Okay. Well, speaking to the two of you, when you got invited to showcase at Colombo Fashion Week, what was your thought? Like, did you all read about it? Did you all research about it and see the magnitude of the show? Has it grown? Whatnot at the initial stage?
Well, I mean, we got to know about it partly because of Ajai and Prasad, who are good friends of ours. And I think fashion is actually a very important component in the cultural makeup of any country, because I think fashion represents identity, and we've seen that happening. And I think in Sri Lanka, we've seen the role it plays and how important it is to people today as a part of the whole cultural mix. So it's a very important activity.
And your first time showcasing here and the feedback that you received, how was it? To your time in India here, and you've shown across the world, how was the feedback here and how was the energy in the audience?
Very positive, very enthusiastic audience. We enjoyed showing here, and of course every time there's also a treat because we're visiting Sri Lanka, which for us is something that we really enjoy doing. So no, altogether it's always been very positive.
You have flown in this time on a very tight schedule.
Yes.
And literally just a few hours in Sri Lanka, and that's because you all really wanted to be a part of this milestone 20th year.
Yes.
Absolutely.
And the reason, what was the personal connection to be here?
I think the connection comes from Prasad and Ajay here, and that itself says a lot. And ultimately, it's got to do with, for us to be celebrating this 20 years is really quite remarkable, to be part of this journey of the Colombo Fashion Week.
Now, I have to ask Ajay, throughout these years, you have had days where everything that you have planned to take forward things around you has just literally crumbled. It could be a stable government or even a dollar crisis. It could be a bomb threat, and we have witnessed it. How did you handle all of those?
I don't know. You just keep going, right? I think the scariest one was that air attack.
Yeah, that was in 2009.
2009, and that was like really a scary one. But I think we were the only thing that was going on. The whole city was in darkness other than the fashion week going on. So that was so that kind of shows a lot that everything else shut down. The fashion week is going on. So that, and then I think the pandemic. We did the one with masks. Then we did at the port. It's a combination. So personally, how I look at it is the issue is in your mindset. You know, so if the problem is in your mind. So if you can get your mind across, every problem has an opportunity, right? And I think Sri Lanka needed it all the time. I somehow feel that Colombo Fashion Week plays a much bigger role in terms of it's just not fashion, kind of showcases the city, the country. It showcases that Sri Lanka moves forward. It gives a very good kind of a public image as well. When a fashion week is happening, is kind of a semblance of normalcy. You know that things are going, it should be okay. So I remember in 2009 during the war, it used to be bomb attacks in Colombo like that, right? And when you say Colombo Fashion Week, so you say Colombo, and so Colombo is associated with fashion and attacks, fashion and attacks, right? On Google.
It went simultaneously.
It went simultaneously, yeah. So and I remember somebody did research at that point that when you do 10 searches on Colombo, ours was the only fashion one. Everything else was something wrong going on, right? So I realized it had a bigger role to play. So
it brought in something positive.
Yeah, and then it kind of it's also supported design entrepreneurship, right? And now personally, I'm thinking there's a huge brain drain happening. So can we reverse the brain drain with building some kind of inspiration, aspiration among the younger ones?
Correct. I have always believed that Colombo Fashion Week not only set its standards for designers to sort of up their craftsmanship or even come up with greater ideas, but also it gave a lot of people who are in the industry a reason to sort of really be passionate about it. Models, it could be the people who did sets, design, graphic, even creators who were very good in making short films. All of them got a chance to be a part of Colombo Fashion Week, that brand, in so many other ways. I have to ask you, now it's such an inclusive world today, fashion has become, and people like me, even I have a chance to roll around the runway. But tell me, in this perspective, what is your take on inclusivity? And that's a big part this time on the show.
I think that it happened, it should have actually happened earlier, but I think it also reflects the changes in society and how society as a whole is growing up. We are also getting a little more mature, and fashion is ultimately a reflection of popular culture. So whatever's happening on the streets, whatever happening in our lives, whether it's related to size inclusivity, gender inclusivity, across the spectrum. I think fashion has to represent it if it's going to speak with a true voice.
And this year is a very special year because it's all about inclusivity as we celebrate 20 years. And is the runway going to see newer things this time in terms of what we think, the stereotypical fashion lines? Oh, you have to be thin to be a model, or your garment should be this. But you have tried to break all of this.
Yeah, that's what we're trying in the 20th year. Inclusivity in growth is kind of is a theme that we're going with. So in Sri Lanka, the inclusivity is a little different, right? So, when I say different means we pay, there's more emphasis on one other aspect, which is in terms of, ethnicities and people from other walks. So that, and the whole effort is how do we provide equal opportunities to all of them, right? So yes, so there would be something different that, something unique that will be shown.
Amazing. Now, final question, I know you guys have to run. I wanted to ask you, in this range of where we are thinking about sustainability and fashion always being more, what can I say, understanding the environment. Because Sri Lanka was very passionate about it, and Ajai, I think, brought it in many years ago, in even challenging the designers, saying, no, it has to be eco-friendly, it has to sort of go with our environment. How is it in India, and what do you keep in mind when you guys work with big brands and with your collections? And
something it's something we keep at the back of our mind, sustainability, and I think it's very much a very important part of the design process and the creative process is how to retain those values. And for us, besides the fact that we try to work with materials that are sustainable, we also try to have a mindset so that we believe that what we design should be a very high quality, it should have an element of timelessness, that we don't believe that anything we design should be discarded. We think it has a very long life. So, and we always add, and from collection to collection, we refer to earlier collections so that you can mix pieces from different years, because a lot of fashion is about waste, and that's not something that we support at all.
Amazing. Would you give us a little teaser about what you have this year for us on the web?
Well, we're showing our current collection, which we just presented in Bombay, and it's based on the leaf as a symbol of regeneration, of growth, and of a new season. And we've explored it in a variety of techniques, which are from hand weaving to ikat to embroidery, and a multiplicity of techniques to show how versatile the fashion ecosystem is for us.
Amazing. Thank you very much, because we are going to continue this conversation. Ajay, do continue. You have no choice. You're married to the brand. When we do come back, we're going to have someone who is very much Sri Lankan. He has been here too many times. I think he might just have like a residency here. And also the lady who sort of battles everything with Ajay. More on this on the other side. Welcome back to the show. This is actually one of those terrible relationships that I'm a part of. There's a lot of love and there's equal amount of stubbornness that we carry and we somehow manage. Fazeena, you have been a part of the Colombo Fashion Week brand for the past 10 years.
Correct.
Yeah. So you're kind of half-baked at this very moment.
Exactly. I'm just young in that.
Yes. How was it when you joined 10 years ago to today?
Oh, we've come a long way, I think, even with some of the, the young designers segment.
Emerging designers.
Yes, even with Swim Week, so many new properties that we developed. And I think vision has been more focused now. So over 10 years, we've developed that and have more focus with where we are going.
Okay. Now, Prasad has been such an instrumental person when it comes to Colombo Fashion Week. His voice was the voice that we sit back and we listen. More than the collection, the way he narrates the story of the designer was spectacular. And we miss that voice these days because we don't get to hear it more often. But you have put the show you took the show to another level. You gave it choreography that Sri Lanka had not seen. You made the models understand this is a show, it's about the garment, not about you parading yourself. When you came here 20 years ago and had to work with models from here, how was it to sort of work with them at that point?
It was quite wonderful, really, because everything about Sri Lanka is wonderful. And when Ajay had the idea of Colombo Fashion Week, it really became the fashion barometer of its times. And I think every year the temperature went up, and it created a viewpoint of fashion in the country which was incubated. And all the designers have been working with us from the time they were young. And Ajay and Fazeena and so many of the others who came before also found them and encouraged them and put them on the map, literally. Today, Sri Lankan designers can take their place anywhere in the world. I think they just need the right export channel to take them out to markets in India, in China, and in the West, for whatever that's worth now. But it's been wonderful. It's been a terrific journey for 20 years, and I've been very proud to have been part of this.
Amazing. Well, there are two people who sort of changed in terms of how they approach stress. One is Ajay and one is Prasad. But I think it's maturity and also age has really caught up. But Ajay, you have really toned down, and you're so calm even in midst of chaos. And do I give credit to Fazeena here or just life?
Yeah, I think no. Well, you Fazeena for sure, because there's only one who can be on that kind of a.
Yeah.
No, I guess it's life, and is spirituality, and you keep moving forward, and you understand that in the end, I mean, it's a big thing, but it's not big enough, to kind of. Like I said earlier on, if you see a plane flying down, that doesn't shake you. then you have something else that comes, and you realize that in the end it just keeps going, and there's a bigger thing that moves with the whole thing. So yeah.
And also back in the days, we had such a small pool of models to choose from, and we had to fly down models from India and other parts of the world, and we always had the tall looking personalities walking down the ramp. But right now, that part of CFW has reduced now, because we're using more and more Sri Lankan models, and more or less everyone is Sri Lankan. And that's remarkable. That means they have a reason, they have a show to look out for and work out and be great. How has it been casting models for you?
It's actually been a good journey with that, because it only shows the strength of the growth of the ecosystem that CFW has created, right? From when we started, there was just one model agency, and now we have up to 4 or 5, and which is great. Usually we do have 40 models, and 50% of that was international. Now we are able to cast a lot more, because they take it up as a career. Which is
amazing.
Interesting.
And Prasad, you have even taken models from here, even designers, and sort of taken them to other parts of the world, or even worked with them in shows internationally. And India is never short of tall, lean, amazing looking people. But what was the reason for you to sort of build that bridge?
Well, it's sort of also, I think, a sign of a developing industry. There are more young models coming out now. There isn't that much of a stigma attached to the profession. Parents today are younger and willing to let their teenage children come into the business. And you see, standards of beauty are constantly evolving. And I think that countries like Sri Lanka and India and Pakistan and Bangladesh are laying stake to standards of beauty, and now defining what those standards should be. And I think that it's very important that we create an international look at Colombo Fashion Week. It's really not about just Sri Lankan models, or do Indian models come in. It's really about trying to get a global perspective into the whole picture, the way Ajai and Fazeena do with designers. They bring in the best of designers from other countries, and I think it raises the bar, and sort of challenges designers who work with each other to do even better, to look at fresh new viewpoints, to look at global opinion when it comes to fashion. And I think that's what's been so interesting about the incubation that they do, especially with young designers in the emerging designers section. This time alone, out of 10 young designers, I see many of them have, potential to do amazing work. The younger generation really seems to understand the global viewpoint. And you see, in Sri Lanka, you are a country that's very rich in terms of manufacture and of giving the world products that are just amazing. Like they did with Swim Week, when designers came in and started making swimwear that could compare with the best in the world, and using manufacturing capacities that were international anyway. Today, Sri Lanka has a reputation of making the best swimwear in the world. Why can't that extend to other categories? Look at the beautiful artwork of batik that you all do with Sonali and Darshi, and designers who put together a viewpoint of, of fashion as art. And that could translate very well into not just fashion, but also home products. And I think that really, at the end of the day, Ajay was talking to me about this earlier, about really creating a showcase of Sri Lankan design. And I think Sri Lankans are known for their exquisite taste, really. It's something that's always amazed me about this country, is the standard of architecture, of ceramic design, of so many things that, nobody else can do as well as you do. I just see it extending everywhere. And I think that this is going to be one of the great exchange earners for this country when fashion matures and becomes very exportable, and it's going to make a big sensation globally.
Amazing. And considering the fact that there's just been 20 years and there's so much more to do, what's next for the brand CFW?
So anyways, we're expanding it further now. I think there are a few changes in the structure. Next 5 years very important. Sustainability will play a role, a huge role. Trying to give birth to a generation of designers who would be completely sustainable in terms of the kind of fabric they use, the processes, circularity, all that, and that gives Sri Lanka a very unique edge and image, because also the apparel industry is moving in that thing. So that'll be really interesting. We've given ourselves targets with the younger designers, right? Like Prasad was very impressed with 2 or 3 that are showing this time, and he said they could straight away go to the main brand.
Yeah.
And so and how fast they have progressed, because Fazeena does something called CFW Accelerate, right? In that, what she's done is she's kind of fast tracked their growth. So the ones who are coming up now in last 3 years are like say 15 or 16. They're like, I can't take names of the earlier ones, but the thing is they've gone so much faster than them that they could. So if we keep that traction going, we'll have far more, say 50, 60 new ones, like hot ones who can kind of go. So that's what we're targeting on, with creating a structure, sustainability, like Accelerate as a program, financing system, and also like, standards, how to measure sustainability on the kind of stuff that they create. So that's what the whole focus is for next 5 years.
Amazing. Well, before we wrap things up, I'm so happy that we are part of your 20th year journey and many more years to come. It just makes me feel old because I've been around this show for a long time in thinner, taller, wider shapes and sizes. But well done, guys, for pulling through all the hard years that we've had, and also giving a reason for us to look forward to something, to celebrate something, and even constantly keep a lot of people doing the job that they do as a profession. So well done on that. And also I have to say, Colombo Fashion Week also created personalities who have inspired others, personalities who have had the opportunity to speak their story out, and we would have never got to hear their stories if it was not for a platform that was created here. So more out there could inspire and aspire to get on the ramp and showcase your creation and be as crazy or be dainty and very subtle as you want when it comes to your fashion. Well, we need to wrap things up. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for having us.
I'm excited about the 20th year. We will see you soon with everything that is going to be Colombo Fashion Week. Till then, keep smiling. Bye.